The Trump administration is ending Obama-era fuel standards. EPA Chief Scott Pruitt is revoking rules requiring cars sold in the U.S. to average close to 55 miles per gallon by 2025.
I'm here to announce that those standards that were set, that we are obligated to evaluate, I am determining that those standards are inappropriate and should be revised.
Pruitt says the changes are because the cost to consumers was going to be high. He also says it was going to be tough for manufacturers to meet the goals. Automakers applaud the decision. Joining us now, Gabby Morangello, White House reporter for The Washington Examiner. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk Baltic and Russia. The leaders from Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia were here. They're very concerned about Russian aggression. The White House is going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin. What is going to happen?
Well, we don't know what's going to happen in that meeting quite yet. We actually don't even know if the meeting's going to take place this year. I know that White House officials are trying to frantically schedule something because the president has said and obviously expressed a clear interest in wanting to meet with Vladimir Putin.
And the Kremlin yesterday said that they were meeting.
Right, and so they are trying to get something on the books by the end of this year, but obviously the president is currently preparing for that meeting with Kim Jong-un. He has a state visit, the first of his administration, with Emmanuel Macron next month, so there's a lot of foreign leaders.
Shinzo Abe from Japan.
A lot of summits happening between now and this spring and even this summer.
So there's really no clear message then here between meeting with the Baltic states and then meeting with Vladimir Putin.
Well, I assume that they probably put a lot of pressure on him today, if he does end up meeting with Vladimir Putin, to really address some of the issues that the U.S. is dealing with and that these Baltic states are dealing with in terms of Russian aggression in that region. This administration has sort of had a discrepancy between what the president does and what he says on Russia. Behind the scenes, they have been sanctioning Russia. They have been taking punitive actions against their occupation in Crimea. They have armed Ukrainian forces. They've done a lot, but it doesn't really mesh well with the president's rhetoric on Russia. He says he wants to have this relationship with Vladimir Putin that we haven't seen in decades between the U.S. and Russia. So I think that's one thing that would be really interesting to follow if they do end up meeting.
The president is also tweeting, let's take a look at one of these tweets today, about Amazon. He said, "Am I right about Amazon costing the United States Post Office massive amounts of money for being their delivery boy? Amazon should pay these costs plus and not have them borne by the American taxpayer. Many billions of dollars. PO leaders don't have a clue." Or do they? Is this really about post office reform, or is this about his battle with Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post?
I think it's probably more the latter. He has obviously had a lot of negative coverage in the Washington Post about him and about his administration, and so this is an easy target for him to go after Amazon's owner, Jeff Bezos, who happens to also own the Washington Post. But it's actually a really peculiar argument for a Republican president to be making. I mean, aside from the fact that this probably does have to do more with the fake news angle, he's wading into an argument in a free market. He's saying that, we need to have a level playing field, which is actually a phrase that he used in one of his tweets this week. And that really goes against conservative economic orthodoxy. When you're talking about different companies, the way that they manage things, the way that they boost competition, Amazon has really been a pioneer in many ways. And that's something that most Republican administrations would probably champion rather than criticize.
And not to mention H2Q is coming down the pike. We have to see where Amazon's next headquarters is going to be.
I don't think he wants it in Washington,
I don't.
D.C.
Something tells me you're right on that one. Thank you so much, Gabby Morangello, White House reporter, Washington Examiner.